you had the opportunity to meet the perfect girl, what does that look like on paper?
How tall are you?
There she is, my milk of magnesia. God must have broke the mold when he made you. Come here.
Have you ever had a hug like this before?
It's so nice.
If
This guy.
She's funny, she's kind, she's sweet, she's cute. She's got all the characteristics I want. That's what I'm saying.
No one expected this rumor to ever exist. Scott Disick, the notorious ex of Kourtney Kardashian, and Khloe Kardashian, her own sister. Even by Kardashian standards, that sounded like a storyline too wild to be true. But once a few suspicious photos, inside jokes, and flirty comments started circulating online, the internet did what it does best. It exploded. Within hours, Twitter threads were flooded with Khloe and Scott. Memes, TikTok detectives were analyzing every clip, and Reddit turned into a full-blown investigation board. Fans weren't just laughing, they were curious. Could there actually be something happening between them behind the scenes? Or was this just another example of the Kardashians' ability to turn family chaos into a global headline? For Khloe, the speculation hit differently. She wasn't just another name in the rumor mill. She was the loyal sister, the one who always defended Kourtney, roasted Scott, and made it clear that their relationship was strictly brother-sister. So when fans started suggesting something more, the silence from Khloe wasn't what people expected. Days passed. No posts, no interviews, just quiet. Which of course only made the internet dig deeper. Because when a Kardashian doesn't comment, that's when things really get interesting. And then it happened. Khloe finally broke her silence. Not with an angry rant or a denial, but with a calm, almost cryptic response that left everyone even more confused. Was she joking? Throwing shade? Or subtly confirming what nobody thought possible? What Khloe said and didn't say changed everything. Because behind that one post was a story far more complicated than anyone imagined. Like most Kardashian headlines, this one didn't come from a press release or paparazzi ambush. It started as a whisper. A few harmless comments between Scott and Khloe on Instagram, a playful selfie during a family get-together, and suddenly fans were connecting dots that might not even exist. It began when Scott left a cheeky heart-eye emoji under one of Khloe's new photos. Nothing unusual for him. But this time people noticed. One fan wrote, "Wait, why is this low-key flirty?" Another added, "They actually look good together. Don't come for me." Within hours, gossip pages turned those comments into speculation. Is Khloe dating Scott? Then came the TikTok theories. Users dug up old Keeping Up with the Kardashians clips where Khloe and Scott exchanged banter that now, out of context, seemed suspiciously flirty. They laughed, teased, and even hugged on camera. Suddenly, every friendly moment between them became proof. And because the Kardashians' lives are practically documented in HD, it wasn't hard to build a convincing timeline. One dinner here, one event there, one shared car ride after filming. Before long, tabloids began using words like secret romance and unexpected connection. But the rumor truly caught fire when a blurry photo surfaced on Twitter. A shot of Khloe and Scott leaving a restaurant together late at night. What the captions didn't mention was that it was a family outing, with cameras and producers everywhere. Context didn't matter. The image fit the story, and the story sold. By the time morning came, the internet had already made up its mind. Khloe Kardashian and Scott Disick, and from family friends to alleged lovers. And while most people laughed it off, some couldn't shake the question, what if it wasn't entirely false? At first, the rumor seemed too ridiculous to take seriously. But as fans began digging deeper, they realized something strange. The idea of Khloe and Scott being together didn't feel as impossible as it should have. After all, their chemistry wasn't new. It had been quietly building for years right in front of the cameras. Since the early Keeping Up with the Kardashians days, Khloe and Scott shared a bond that stood out. While most people saw Scott as Kourtney's wild ex, Khloe always treated him differently. She was the only one who could call him out on his nonsense, and somehow still make him laugh about it. Their banter was sharp but affectionate, like two people who understood each other's chaos. Fans loved it. They clipped moments of their funniest exchanges, labeled them Khloe and Scott moments, and flooded comment sections with lines like, "They have more chemistry than Kourtney and Scott ever did." At first, it was all jokes. Even Kourtney laughed about it on camera, but as the years went by and the family evolved, that playful connection between Khloe and Scott never really faded. When Scott went through his lowest points, heartbreak, rehab, and losing his parents, Khloe was the one who checked in, defended him, and made sure he wasn't completely spiraling. So when people saw new clips of them hugging or laughing together in 2025, they didn't just see a friendly moment. They saw history, a pattern that had been quietly playing out for over a decade. And that's when the joke stopped being funny. Because suddenly fans weren't just asking, what if? They were asking, why not? When the rumor exploded, all eyes immediately turned to one person, Kourtney Kardashian. Because no matter how wild the internet gets, there's one unspoken Kardashian rule. When Scott Disick's name surfaces, Kourtney's name follows. For years, Kourtney had built walls of peace around her new life. A marriage, a family, and a sense of calm she'd never had during her chaotic years with Scott. She wasn't just Scott's ex anymore. She was free. But this rumor, the one linking her ex to her sister, hit like déjà vu. It wasn't about jealousy or betrayal. It was about boundaries. About seeing her past creep back into her present in the most uncomfortable way possible. At first, she said nothing. No statements. No responses. Just silence. Which, in Kardashian world, speaks louder than any caption ever could. Fans started reading between the lines, watching her posts for clues. A song lyric here, a quote there. One story read, "Not everything deserves your reaction," and that was all it took. The internet decided that was her answer. Meanwhile, insiders claimed the family group chat was chaos. Kris Jenner reportedly called an emergency meeting, not for damage control, but for containment. She knew better than anyone that a storyline like this could spin out of control fast. Khloé, according to close sources, was mortified. Scott, of course, thought it would blow over. But for Kourtney, the whole thing reopened a wound she'd spent years healing. She wasn't angry, just done. Done being dragged into drama she didn't create. And that's when fans realized something powerful. Kourtney didn't need to shout to make a statement. Her silence was the statement. After days of silence, the internet was practically begging for a response. Every gossip site had the same headline: Khloe Kardashian breaks silence, followed by screenshots of her Instagram stories, wild fan theories, and quotes taken out of context. But when Khloe finally did speak, she didn't rage or deny anything. Instead, she did what she does best. She turned the chaos into calm. It started with a single post, a photo of her gym mirror, captioned with one line, "Some things don't deserve energy." That was it. No mention of Scott, no hashtag. Just a subtle message that hit harder than any explanation could. Within minutes, her comment section blew up. Fans wrote, "She's talking about the rumor, and that's how you handle drama, queen behavior." But Khloe wasn't done. Hours later, she reposted an older video clip of her and Scott laughing on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, writing, "My brother for life. Calm down, internet." And just like that, the tension deflated. The message was clear. Whatever fans thought they saw, it wasn't romantic, and it was family. Still, even that clarification raised new questions. Was she shading the media for twisting her words? Or sending a warning to stop dragging her into Scott's drama? Because Khloe's tone wasn't angry, it was tired. Tired of the internet taking everything at face value. Tired of always having to explain. That mix of humor and confidence was classic Khloe, and it worked. Within hours, the rumor started losing steam. But behind the calm exterior, insiders claimed she was hurt. Not because of the gossip, but because it once again blurred the line between loyalty and humiliation. And while her silence ended the conversation online, it was only the beginning behind closed doors. Behind the glossy Instagram stories and calm captions, things in the Kardashian circle were anything but calm. The rumor had sparked an internal storm that even Kris Jenner couldn't completely control. According to several insiders, the family group chat was on fire. Khloe was furious that a joke between friends had turned into tabloid chaos. Kourtney stayed silent but distant. And Kris, the ultimate damage controller, was already making phone calls. The problem wasn't just the rumor itself, but what it represented: another public mess involving Scott. After years of watching his name drag their family through headlines, everyone knew this narrative would hit too close to home. Khloe reportedly told friends she was disgusted by how fast the internet sexualized a relationship she saw as brother-sister. Meanwhile, Scott went into his usual defense mode, half joking, half deflecting. He told people the rumor was ridiculous, but privately, he was rattled. Scott had always been the lovable troublemaker of the Kardashian world, the guy fans rooted for despite his chaos. But this time was different. The optics were bad, really bad. Even if it wasn't true, it looked messy. It looked disrespectful, especially toward Kourtney. Sources said Scott reached out to both sisters separately, telling Khloe he was sorry for putting her in an awkward spot, and telling Kourtney that the whole thing was twisted by the media. Kourtney's response? A polite but icy, "It's fine," which, for anyone who knows her, means it's definitely not fine. Kris, ever the strategist, reportedly told everyone to lay low until it blew over. But the damage was done. The internet had seen just enough to keep the story alive. And deep down, everyone knew this wasn't just about a rumor. It was about old patterns repeating themselves. For Scott Disick, rumors weren't new. They were practically part of his brand. He'd built a public image around chaos, the charming bad boy who never quite grew up. His relationships with models half his age, his parties, his flirty humor, it all kept him in the headlines long after Keeping Up with the Kardashians ended. But this time, something about the rumor with Khloe felt different. It wasn't just scandalous. It was personal. For once, the attention wasn't flattering. It was humiliating. Fans weren't laughing or rolling their eyes. They were disgusted. The joke had crossed into territory that made even diehard fans uncomfortable. Social media exploded with comments like, "There's a difference between family and flirting," and "Scott needs to grow up already." Behind the scenes, Scott reportedly took it harder than people expected. Friends said he was embarrassed, realizing he'd finally become the punchline in a story he couldn't control. What started as playful banter had turned into a global conversation about boundaries and how he'd ignored them for years. But it wasn't just public backlash. The rumor also forced Scott to face something he'd been avoiding: the truth that his connection to the Kardashians wasn't infinite. For so long, he'd been the honorary family member, invited to dinners, birthdays, vacations. But now that access felt fragile. The rumor made everyone rethink his role. Was he family? Or just a reminder of old drama that refused to die? And maybe that's why this particular story hurt the most. It exposed how much Scott depended on the Kardashian world for relevance, and how quickly that world could turn cold. For once, he wasn't the star of the joke. He was the joke. For years, Khloé and Kourtney had shared the kind of bond that balanced love and distance. They were opposites. Khloé, outspoken and funny. Kourtney, calm and guarded. But this rumor pushed that balance to its limit. It wasn't just another Kardashian headline, it was family. And even if both sisters knew the truth, the noise outside started to blur the peace inside. Insiders said that when the story first broke, Kourtney tried to stay composed. But there was tension. Not because she believed it, but because it dragged her right back into the same emotional loop she'd spent years escaping: Scott's chaos. To her, this wasn't about Khloé's loyalty. It was about old wounds reopening. She'd built an entirely new life with Travis Barker, one built on quiet and stability. The last thing she wanted was another reminder of the man who once turned her world upside down. Khloé, on the other hand, was heartbroken that the rumor made her look like she'd betrayed her sister. She reportedly texted Kourtney immediately, "You know me. You know I'd never." And Kourtney's reply was short but reassuring. "I know." Still, forgiveness didn't erase the awkwardness. Every shared appearance after that, every family dinner, every paparazzi shot, carried attention the cameras couldn't capture. Behind the scenes, Kris Jenner worked overtime to smooth things over, reminding both sisters that public unity mattered more than online chatter. And slowly, they did what Kardashians do best. They turned pain into poise. By the time the next family event aired, Khloé and Kourtney stood side by side, smiling like nothing had happened. But for those who looked closely, there was a new layer of distance. Quiet, polite, and unspoken. Because even when rumors fade, trust takes longer to rebuild. Eventually, the noise began to fade. The tabloids moved on to a new scandal. The TikTok slowed down, and the endless threads finally died out. But Khloé and Kourtney didn't wait for peace to return. They took it back. The sisters knew how this world worked. The only way to kill a rumor in the Kardashian universe wasn't to fight it. It was to outgrow it. And that's exactly what they did. Instead of feeding gossip with more explanations, both women leaned into their own kind of silence. Kourtney posted photos of her kids and quiet mornings with Travis. Khloé focused on her fitness brand, her daughter True, and motivational quotes about protecting your peace. And slowly, the internet's attention shifted. The narrative went from Khloé dating Scott to Khloé's graceful response to drama. That's how powerful silence can be when the world expects chaos. Insiders later revealed that the sisters eventually sat down privately to clear the air. No cameras, no producers, just them. Kourtney reportedly told Khloé, "It's not your fault. It's the noise around him." And Khloé agreed, admitting she was tired of being pulled into stories that weren't hers to tell. That quiet moment, away from public eyes, reset their bond in a way no social media post ever could. Even Scott, realizing how much he damaged the peace, stepped back from the spotlight. For once, he didn't try to fix the story. He let it fade. In a family known for drama, Khloé and Kourtney did something rare. They refused to perform. They didn't feed the fire. They let it burn out on its own. And in that silence, they reclaimed their power, not through denial, but through dignity. In the end, Khloé Kardashian didn't need a statement, a headline, or a dramatic sit-down interview to clear her name. She did something far more powerful. She stayed calm. Because sometimes silence isn't about hiding. It's about choosing peace over performance. For years, Khloé had been the sister who defended everyone else. Kourtney, Kim, even Scott. She was the glue, the comic relief, the one who carried humor through heartbreak. But this rumor forced her to protect something different, her own boundaries. Instead of reacting with fire, she responded with stillness. And that shift said everything. Her silence wasn't weakness. It was evolution. She'd learned that every reaction feeds the machine. Every post, every denial, every emotional outburst becomes another headline. So this time, she did what few people in her world ever managed to do. She stopped playing the game. Meanwhile, Kourtney mirrored that same maturity. The sisters, once drawn into endless public conflicts, were now united by a new kind of strength, detachment. They didn't need to prove innocence or loyalty. They simply lived their truth until the noise disappeared. The rumor came and went like a storm, loud, messy, impossible to ignore. But when it passed, what remained was clarity. Fans saw two women who refused to be defined by chaos. 2 sisters who chose peace over pettiness, and 1 ex who, for once, couldn't control the narrative. So maybe Khloe never really broke her silence in the way the tabloids hoped. Maybe she didn't need to, because the loudest statement she made wasn't in words. It was in the calm that followed. And in a world addicted to drama, that kind of silence is the rarest, most shocking sound of all.